Excuse me. Welcome back to the Seven Deadly Sins Anime Review, episode number 66. We're reviewing episodes 17 and 18 of, well, the Seven Deadly Sins 4 Knights of the Apocalypse, which is basically the first two episodes of the 8 episode arc that ends season 1 for the show, known as Chaos of Leonis. Yep, that's the name of this arc. So we pick up right where the last arc left off, where Lancelot brought Percival's group to, well, Leonis, which of course by the end of episode 18 they refer to it as Percival's platoon. By the way, in case you're curious though, this arc, the first two of 8 episodes, this is the longest arc of the entire series. No joke, it seriously is, because the arc that comes right after this one, the Wolunok arc, 21 chapters. Demon Realm, 26 chapters. Infiltration of Camelot, which is the third most recent arc in the manga, that is 10 chapters. Fairy Realm is 16 chapters, and the current arc has been going on for a very short period of time. So let's talk about this arc. So they basically bring him to the palace, the palace where the king of Leonis lives, but the king is out, and Percival has disappeared. So Percival just wanders about everything, and he just runs into Henderson, also an excellent injuring his back. While he apparently was transporting some stuff, like moving some stuff over to, well, basically the boar's hut. I'll get to that. So Percival apologizes. He volunteers to take it for him while he goes to see his old friend Dreyfus. So, of course, leave a little present behind. And of course, then he just happens to run into, just by sheer coincidence, you have Percival just on his way to the boar's hut, and he runs into Meliodas. Yes, in case you're curious though, did this happen in the manga? It did. It's like presented the same way. So he runs into him and he brings him to the Boar's Hut, which is what's surprising, he still runs this place despite the fact he's also the king of the country. When he took time to do this, I don't know, but on top of the building is a statue of Hawk. Oh, in case you're curious though, is Hawk in Four Knights Apocalypse? Is he in the manga? No. No, he's not. He does not appear in the series at all. It's kind of weird. Like, you would think the mascot character of the Seven Deadly Sins, maybe have appearance here. Maybe a brief return for him. Nope. Does not appear. His last actual appearance was actually in Cursed by Light. That was his finale for the whole franchise. Yep. Is he dead? No, he's not dead. But I'm going to confirm that he is not in this series. He is not making an appearance at all. So, he brings him aside. And apparently the Boar's Hut's got a bit smaller in the period of time was last seen. Because I remember it used to be a little bigger in the original anime. It's got a little smaller. And he tries some food. He passes out. Then he wakes up. And of course, basically, well, he knows about the helmet. And in fact, he knows his grandfather. He'll explain the whole Four Knights Apocalypse thing. And of course, he just takes a little stroll of the town, runs into two former Holy Knights, Great Holy Knights, the Galvin Castle. And the first you see something from the sky. Meanwhile, though, a giant stingray shows up. Yes, a giant stingray to inform Meliodas, hey, your son's back. He's like, cool. And he just brought one of the Four Knights Apocalypse with him. And the person's name is Galwin. And of course, we see it later. So, Percival runs, and then he just accidentally goes up a skirt of a female knight. Oh, he does point out distance, basically, about this kingdom known as Darkmount. He points out the distance. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it debuts episode 17, and then basically it just, well, I do explain it. And then, of course, well, oh, and the one who runs into, person runs into, the name is Isolde, I think it's pronounced her name. She's voiced by Kate Clark, and she's like, "You almost took my chastity for Priston," and she chases him with her mace. And then we run into two of the people who are here, who are members of the Tristan platoon. Jade, who is by AJ Buckles, and Colton. Who is Colton, you might ask? Well, for one thing, he's voiced by Paul Custer Jr. He's Tristan's cousin. How? His mom is Margaret, Elizabeth's elder sister, and Gilthunder is basically his father. Which means that Zedros, the man who got killed in a flashback part of the original series, it's his grandfather. So yeah, he's a third generation Holy Knight. I don't know if anybody else in this family served the Holy Knights. And then, of course, they see him, and then they're kind of like, okay, so they also carry Fragcom of the Eternal Darkness. When Milo sees basically him having it, he's a bit surprised, but he's happy to see he's with a good person. That's not the case, basically, with Tristan Platoon, who decides to fight him. And he tries to explain, but Cuthan's like, nope, you're not talking. I'm going to basically have an excuse out of you. APs are fly away, and then of course his head's thrown in darkness thanks to Jade, and well, then of course basically like Percival's group shows up to defend him because well, and then they all get attacked, all defending him, and then Tristan shows up, and he's like, "What are you four? What are you three doing?" And yes, he's gotten a little bit older since his last appearance. He's a bit more mature than he was. You see, in his last appearance, he was 14 years old. Now he's 16. Now, since he's here, I've been teasing this for quite a while about Percival not originally planned to be the original main character series. According to what I read, the original plan is to make Tristan the main character, but they want, I guess that the writer wanted to avoid making it too obvious that he was the main character of the series. Yes. Now, the other series I've seen that did this, where the offspring of the main character was not the start of the sequel series, was Yashi Princess Half Demon. Marha, Inuyasha's daughter, she's in the series, but she's a supporting character. She's basically not the main character. That's Toa, and this is the second series I come across with it's been like that. Excuse me. So, basically, like, oh, by the way, who voices the other two members? Oh, yeah, I mentioned it. So, and of course, Percival, who basically is very angry at the fact that his friends are getting hurt. So, he's shines up in a demon language, which, of course, Meliodas knows it too. And, of course, Percival's like, how can no demons here? He went to the village, and of course, the mentioned thing with Gulthur. And he briefly fights in the sky, and then eventually and his friends like surround him. And eventually he's able to calm down, and well, the thing is released. And of course, then after all that, and they explain, this is Percival, one of the four knights of the apocalypse. And of course, Cawthon decides to act like a complete jerk by doing a nonchalant version of an apology, despite the fact he was the one who started all this. And the fact that the whole thing, well, this was actually kind of his fault. Because he left out, basically, he apparently knew it, but he apparently didn't withheld the information. So, they explain the whole thing with then Lancelot shows up, and of course Tristan, and of course they're very happy to see Lancelot because they're all child friends. So, he explains the whole thing with the fourth Hornet, Gowther, which you don't see what the person looks like. Well, of course, there's this white shiny armor with gold emblems, and also the fact they mentioned, oh yeah, this person is a blood relative of King Arthur. Yep, So at this point, and of course, basically they go chase after, find where it is. And of course, showing that we see this little girl, like, just prancing about. And I know who this girl is. This is Guinevere. Yeah, I know who it is because basically I've seen this debut. This is Guinevere. Those of you curious about her, she's named after the character King Arthur lore, who in the King Arthur lore, she's usually portrayed as the wife of King Arthur. Except I should point out, though, she's 12 years old. Yep, she's 12. And, well, she's going to be up with Lancelot soon. I know, because I read the manga, that's why. We also see this guy, which I know who this guy is. I'm not going to say who he is just yet. But he is somebody who does know Percival. But we'll find out about him next episode. But great 2 episodes so far. So at this point, here who has popped up in this series, who has appeared in the previous one. Dolores, King Arthur, Gowther. Let's see. I'm trying to think who else was it. Was Hauser. There's also Dreyfus, Henderson, Meliodas. Yeah, he finally shows up in the series in an actual canon appearance, not like animated stuff. Well, there's also Gowther, and I think that's it so far. Roughly about 8 characters. Well, actually 9. There's that guy who popped up in the Cinemark Henderson. Basically, the Hauser popped up in 2. So roughly at this point, 9 characters. Well, 10 if you include if you include Tristan. He did technically appear in the final episode, but he wasn't a character. He just featured very briefly in the final episode, but more like 11 at this point have returned yet through the series. Yeah, so these following characters have not returned at all. Oh, also Batros returned too, so that makes him and Slender. So that makes up to about 13 characters from the original series have returned for this one. So these following characters who are featured prominently in the original have not returned yet at this point in time. And those characters are the rest of the Sins are still left alive. And there's a few others, but I'm not going to say who. But so far of the 7 Deadly Sins, technically we've only seen 2 so far the whole series. That being Meliodas and Gowther. Will we see more? Yes. Plus, we'll get a chance to see a return of another couple characters, which I was kind of surprised about these characters back for the sequel series, but we'll find about those next few episodes. Okay, so that's pretty much a particular view. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, do not dislike button. Also, there will not be a One Piece view today because the anime is taking a week off because it's a clip show today and there's another chapter of the manga. So basically, when I get a chance to do anime, the new anime, it's going to be started with My Hero Academia. So, next up, the Comic Corner. And then it's on to more 7 Deadly Sins for the Apocalypse. Okay? Next video. Bye.